What's up, everybody? How y'all doing today? Whew, I'm tired. Welcome to another episode of a Stoked podcast. This man right here, oh, there's my finger. This man right here is the designated,
This
the
is how you do
hater's
it.
choice. Excuse me, the hater's choice, Jamari Stokes. And I am, as always, the most opinionated man in comics, Javon O. Stokes. Welcome to a Stoked podcast. By the way, I'm going to say it again. All you people out there trying to take my name, I got a problem with this. Stop. Nobody was calling themselves the most opinionated man in comics. Y'all hear it now. Now everybody want to jump in. Oh, I'm the most opinionated man. No, I'm the most No. That's this guy, and I will trademark it. And y'all, listen, stop it. But welcome. We
Might as well at this point.
I
Sure.
am. Cause
You are certainly loving it right now.
Kevin Chapman, creator of Afro Avenger, who's going to be on the show next week, he's decided he's laid down the gauntlet. He is going to come on the show next week and and challenge me for this.
He's challenging you.
He's challenging me for my name. I don't know how you can do that. I don't know how you designate this, but
I mean,
whatever.
Personally, it sounds like you guys are going to get in the squared circle.
Listen, we can hook up a PlayStation.
What are you going to do? Like Hell in a Cell?
Listen, it's WrestleMania season. So yes, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody to another episode of Stoked Podcast. This is interesting. This is going to be an interesting show because we have a great guest. But on top of that, if I trail off, if it looks like I'm trailing off, it's because there's Boston and Milwaukee are playing in the NBA, and it's a big game, and so I might be thinking about it in my head. I've been thinking about it in my head because I'm one of those people that, like, if I was watching them when they were winning and then I stop watching and they're losing, I'm going to be mad and I'm going to internalize it, and it's going to be like my fault. So
it's always your fault.
But also, this Saturday, I will be at Retro Expo. You can go to the website right there, Retro Expo in Rhode Island this Saturday for one day. I think it's 10 to 6 or 10 to 5, one of the other. But come by, come get some stuff, come get some good stuff. If you haven't gotten Heat number 2 yet, come get it. If you want, you can go to visuallystoked.com as well. See the little ticker and pick up some good stuff. As you saw me on TikTok, I'm trying to figure this whole TikTok thing. I know, great timing, right around the time that they're trying to get rid of it. Right around the time that they're trying to get rid of it. Okay, we're not going to hold our guest longer. I feel bad because I was out shopping for my son's glove and I didn't come up with a flowery introduction, so I'm going to freestyle it. Our next guest, the first time I met him, he actually treated me like we've known each other for like ever. And so I was always like, okay, I like this guy. He has a great sense of humor, an amazing comic book and children's book artist, and one who I've been like following his work ever since we've become friendly. He is I believe you're working at Lego and doing work for Lego as well. Amazing work for Lego, and he is. We just keep bouncing into each other at cons here and there. So let's give a Stoked Podcast round of applause for the one and only Jason May.
Hello, everybody.
What's going on?
Which way do I go? I go this way.
There you go.
There I am. How's it going?
What's going on,
man? You are here, and we're glad you are
here. You are
here. Jamari?
Yes. This is my cousin, Jamari.
I know.
I have to make sure I say that because everybody keeps saying, "Oh, it's your brother." I'm like, yeah.
Nobody ever does that to my co-host.
Yeah, well, you guys don't have the same last name.
That's true.
This is true.
We're both Italian, though, so there's that.
It's close enough.
At some point, some people thought that he had found someone with his last name. And
I know.
That would be cool. You guys should have just stuck with that for a while.
No, but you know what, though? There is a comic book artist. I believe his name is Arthur Stokes.
Arthur Stokes.
Is it Arthur Stokes? Is it Arthur Stokes? I might be saying the wrong name. But there is a Stokes. You know what? I got his comic book right in front of me. I've been trying to get him on the show. I'm like, we're gonna have an all Stoked podcast. We got to do it.
Yeah, I'm fully stoked out.
Fully stoked.
Wow,
that would have been a good one. That would have been a
He
good name too.
stays.
That would have been a good one. Oh yeah. Well, welcome, man. Welcome. We are happy to have you. This should have happened a long time ago. I don't know why it took so long. But
I'm glad you had me. I don't go on a lot of these things, so it's fun to be asked.
But you're a big personality. That's kind of surprising. And you have your own podcast too.
You know, I'm not a very big personality until somebody else talks to me. I'm not good at like talking to people. Like starting the conversation. I'm usually I'm usually just standing there like a statue.
You know, I saw you at
out.
one of the bar cons. Was it in Baltimore? And you were like standing off to the side, kind of just like
yeah. I
by
just waited.
yourself.
Yeah, Mitch Halleck like popped up next to me at one point, and I'm like, Mitch, I know him. Hello, Mitch. And we talked for a few minutes.
Because I bounced. I was bouncing around. I don't care.
I know you are a bouncer.
I am a bouncer.
I hide in my basement and I draw pictures all the time. The only way I get tan is I work part-time as a lifeguard at the beach in the summer, and I get like super tan. But otherwise,
where are you?
I'm just like in the basement and like turning into like Gollum. I'm in Rhode Island. Where is
Rhode Island?
Where is this retro expo thing?
It is
Providence?
actually. I actually have the thing right here. Tiverton.
All right, so I think that's like 45 minutes from me.
Hey,
John St. Pierre's going to be there.
Yeah, Larry Stroman, Keith Williams. You should stop by.
Cool.
Keith Williams. Yes.
Nice.
You should stop by, man. You should stop by. They
Joe,
might even still have tables left.
I think Joe did a cover for a thing that I worked on. What was it called? Time something. It was about time.
I just saw Joe like 2 weeks ago at
he's all over the place.
Collecticon.
Oh, that looked interesting too.
I did pretty well. I did okay. Kevin was there. Keith Williams was there again.
Okay.
Who else was there? A couple other people. I don't know if you know them. You might. I can't remember names off. I am so sorry.
So I am the most. What I used to call myself something, and it was along the lines of the worst fanboy ever because I don't ever remember anyone's names. When I was a kid, I recognized the artwork. I like that guy. Like I didn't. Like even like Stan Lee, I didn't know who Stan Lee was.
But I'm
all the books, and then I met him one day because people that I know.
You met Stan Lee?
I did briefly a couple times. We were walking through New York Comic Con one day, me and my buddy, whose name is Buddy, which is weird. Anyway,
hey buddy.
Stan Lee did a foreword for his book or something, and he's like, Jay, you got to take a picture of me and Stan. So we went up, and his guards were like, oh, And then they're like, my buddy was like, hey, it's me. You did a forward to my book. And he's like, let him over here.
Oh, man.
Went over, took a picture. He was
pretty awesome.
Yeah. I feel like everybody I know has met Stan Lee except for me.
Yeah. Most of my experiences were just
I've not met Stan Lee.
Well, everybody in the industry that I know has met Stan Lee.
Yeah.
You got to get in the industry. You got to get in the industry, Jamari. You got to get in there.
Be annoying.
What'd you say?
I just wanted to know you.
Man. I keep telling people it's not that hard to get in the comic book industry. What's hard is to be successful in the comic book industry.
Yes, that is correct.
Like you can get in. Anybody can make a comic book.
Yeah, it's fun.
You do that. Listen. You don't even have to draw particularly well.
It's true.
To make a
true. We were talking about that a little bit earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into this. We can riff and run all night. I always start off the same way. When did your love of comics begin?
So far back that I don't remember. I mean, I remember going to like the spinner racks and stuff when I was a little kid and just like grabbing random Archies or like the Kool-Aid Man comic. I liked I remember Alf.
I had the Kool-Aid Man comic.
Alf was like one of my, first like comic loves. I mean, I had stuff before that because like, my uncles were, 15 to 20 years older than me. So, I got a couple of their books and stuff. I was never a collector. I was just more into like the art aspect and the characters and the design and, all that stuff.
Okay.
That's all my favorite stuff.
So were you into art before you were into comics, or did one, precede the, which one preceded the other?
So I do too much stuff. So it's kind of hard to say, but so when I was younger, I had lots of comics. When I was 14, and I guess my brother was 17, my dad helped me and him open up a card shop in Marlborough, Connecticut, not too far
Oh,
from
really?
you. So it was just a little room filled with tons of cards. We did really well because my brother is a like sports genius. He knows he knew like every player, every stat, every sport of every player. Da 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 da. And then there was me, and I was like, "Can we get comics in here? Can we get comics in here?" And my dad was looking, and he's like, "Oh no, it's too expensive to get comics in here every week." Da 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 da. So I became the non-sports guy. So I have so many Marvel cards still, like from those early series and all that stuff. And I love Garbage Pail Kids, all that stuff. I was like, oh, I love the art. I love the art. I want to be an illustrator. I originally wanted to do animation, but I didn't end up going to the schools that
It's a hard road, man.
I wanted to, and I'm glad I didn't, because even with illustration, the time that I was going to school, and I went to the Hartford Art School near you.
Really?
And
how was that? I'm digressing because I always wanted to know.
How was that? I absolutely loved it.
Okay.
But I think it would have been really nice, since they had one of the biggest business schools in the country, to have a class for the people who are going into freelance illustration or freelance graphic design or any of those people. So that was a bit of a shortcoming. Outside of that, it was fantastic. But getting out of school, trying to figure out what I was going to do with myself, what does freelance mean? At that time, they were talking about bringing your portfolio in and this, that, and the other thing. But, just like in animation, it was evolving from your traditional art form on paper and everything over to digital.
Mm-hmm.
So my first year in college, I was drawing letters by hand on paper. And I was one of the few kids in my class who had a computer. I was lucky enough. My grandfather bought me a computer. He was a welder, so that was like a big deal. He was like, getting Jason a computer so he can be, successful.
There you go.
So I'm sitting there with my computer, like, guys, come on.
Why are we doing letters?
Yeah, why are we doing it by hand? So it's a tough time to compare it. I mean, I loved it there. It was great. They rebuilt the whole school the year after I left, so it's
that seems to happen to a lot of people. I mean, I went to
Yes.
SCAD and they didn't have business courses until after I left.
Yeah.
And then they had a whole rebuilt animation wing
that's great.
after I left.
That's neat.
So I don't know.
That school has expanded
A
exponentially
lot.
since you have left.
A lot.
Has
And I'm just talking about the Atlanta campus. But
Yes, specifically the Atlanta campus.
there's a reason why they're very expensive.
Yeah.
Very, very expensive.
They definitely spend that money.
So when you went to the Hartford Art School,
Mhm.
were you looking to do more like you say you were doing animation and illustration, but was it like commercial illustration or was it?
Yeah, it was more like commercial illustration. So we were learning about how to do spot illustrations for chapter books. There were classes to do entire children's book. I missed out on that one. I studied abroad. I thought that would be a good idea because they didn't offer animation classes at UHA, and I wanted to take a little bit of animation at least, knowing that eventually, hopefully, I was going to get a job freelance illustrating.
Right.
And what ended up happening was me and my brother ended up starting a small publishing company, like in 1999, to self-publish books.
Okay.
Right after, right before I graduated, we started. But yeah, I minored in art history and I minored in sculpture too. So like I said, I do too much stuff.
That's a lot.
It is.
We had to do some sort of sculpting.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Mine too. You had to do the like the foundations type stuff.
Yeah.
Along with your illustrations. Like I ended up taking graphic design, not by choice, but because it was a foundation. I enjoyed it, and I would have enjoyed it more if it was, all computer based. But it was nice having that background because even now, like occasionally I substitute teach. If I don't have freelance work, I go into school and I substitute teach. And I was lucky enough to teach in art classroom this week. And I usually am drawing my comics if kids are behaving, So they'll walk by and they'll be like, "Oh, Mr. May, you draw, don't you?" And they'll be like, "Whoa!" They're like, today a kid was like, "Freehand? You drew that freehand?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm drawing for a really long time."
The one teaching experience I had, one of the kids
This
decided
doesn't
to,
sound like it's going in a good
no,
direction.
one of the kids decided to tell me that, oh, I can draw better than you.
Oh,
And I said, okay. And so the whole class is like, ooh. So I was like, okay, all right.
draw
Everybody,
off.
yeah. I said, everybody pick a character. And then the kids picked the character. We sat down, and I think he got stage fright
Oh,
because he was like, man, I don't want to do this anyway. I was just like, all right. I was
I
like,
bit off
all right.
more than
I
I
was like,
could chew.
okay, go sit down and be quiet.
Oh, I love when
And I
those
was
things
like, nope,
happen.
I would never do this again.
I have those
Jamari is
moments.
a teacher, and I tell him all the time, I would never ever do this again. Maybe with like really small kids,
Yeah.
not teenagers.
I have those moments all the time. Not with actual art, but little things that have come up where it's just like, you really want to do this? Do you? And I was like, do you really want to do this? You see the smile on my face.
In what grades are you?
I
What grade?
teach ninth grade. I'm high school,
Nice.
primarily
Never,
ninth grade.
ever teach high school.
I'd
I'd be one of the I'd be one of those teachers that you see on Instagram who beat the heck out of their
Oh
students
no!
because
No.
they decided they wanted to get in their face. And see, I know my ministry, so I stay away. I'm like, that's all right. So you said you did a publishing company with your brother. What was the first book you did? What was the first project you had?
Oh man. So we're talking like 23 years ago, so this will be tough. But I remember there was a single issue book. I think I only lettered it. My brother put most of it together with an artist named Shelton Bryant. It was called Ill Conceived. I don't know where Shelton is now, but his art was really cool. And that did really well. That went through previews and all the stuff. We sold a ton of that. We did another one called something about David Price, The Psychosis of David Price. My brother was a horror writer. And I wanted to draw stuff like Dexter's Laboratory.
That doesn't fit.
So it was tough. So I helped him with the publication design and all that stuff because I know how to do that stuff. All the website stuff and all that back end stuff. And then eventually we did a graphic novel that I ended up watercoloring because I thought that was a good idea. Called, Catching Lucifer's Lunch.
How did it come out though?
It came out all right. I actually had surgery right before it on my drawing hand. I actually have like I have a Harry Potter like lightning bolt scar. You probably can't see.
Oh my
God.
God.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I can see it.
From it. So that was interesting.
What happened? No, you can't just say you had surgery.
Really?
Say what the heck was happening.
I had they called it a vascular tumor in the middle of my hand.
Oh my gosh.
So
wow.
they took it all out. It wasn't anything. It was like I don't know, like a twin or something growing. I don't know what it was. It was something.
I mean, how long could you not draw?
I had like a claw hand like this for quite a few weeks. And I think I had one kid at the time and she was a toddler crawling around and I was like changing diapers with like my claw hand and stuff because I was stay-at-home dad for like 13 years. But yeah, I was out a bit. My hand was still really stiff when I was doing it. I was like, I really want this. I want watercolor for whatever reason. I had it in my head. I'm like, I want to do the whole thing of watercolor. And that did all right. I think we still have a ton of copies of it somewhere though. But I think that was the last. Was that the last book we did? I think it was. We did a bunch of pitches and stuff. We came pretty close to landing a few things. I remember at one point we were talking to Miramax about one of our books, and then like I think the writer's strike happened or something like that.
Oh,
and,
no.
Everything tanked. I mean, there's a bazillion stories like that, but it's a lot of.
Who did I talk to? Was it Tim Seeley? Who was telling me about what's his book?
Name sounds familiar.
What's the name of his book?
Don't forget, I'm the worst fan.
I know it's got the guy with the smiley face and the girl who's like who's always got a knife or a gun.
Oh, no,
I'm forgetting. Is it Tim Seeley who has that book? Am I saying the wrong name? It might be the wrong name.
I would probably know if I saw the art before.
I'd know if that's Body Bags. Body Bags.
Yes, I know that name.
It's not. Is it Tim Seeley who did Body Bags?
That I don't know.
But yeah, he was talking about how he was going through his, stuff, and he's like, yeah, it was in developmental hell for a while, but hey, paid for my house. And I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
It's not too bad.
I've heard a few stories like that. Oh, it got option, but it never became a cartoon. But I got enough to buy my house. I was like, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, I
I'd love
tell
to
people,
pay my house off.
listen, if I could do something with my comic that paid this house off, I think my wife would be very happy to let me draw.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is the house that Heat built or whatever. I don't know.
The house that he built.
So
Hey.
all right. So what was next? You did, you had the publication.
All right, so we did that.
I'm making you go through your life here. I know.
You are. I started having kids. My brother started having kids. We parted ways. Not completely, just,
I would hope not. I mean, he is your
just
brother.
drawing and writing together. And then, I don't know, I guess at that point I was doing some of my own indie books. At one point I did a book called Robot Mechanic. That one was pretty fun. It was a bunch of short stories that I just had a bunch of friends write that were writers in the industry. I should do more of that, but I need to pace myself. That did pretty well. I should probably reprint it and bring it back around Halloween times.
Hey, listen, you were just telling me about stuff that you want to have in your.
I know. I have stuff that I should reprint, but I'm one of those people who's like, well, I drew that a long time ago, and I don't want anybody to see it. It doesn't fit my style anymore.
It's a marker. It's a time mark.
Hey, man, I'm with you.
Someone can see it. It allows people to see your evolution.
It's true.
Hey, my first trade, I still look at it right now, and I'm like,
well, I've tried to stop doing that because, like you said before, I drew a lot for Lego, and you're on time crunches. Not only are you on time crunches, but you're dealing with editors and art directors who they have their own vision that you need to meet. And you draw like the coolest page on earth, and you're like, this is gonna be awesome. And then you get back notes. Hey, you need to just get rid of this really, really nice panel that has all the action in it and just show the product, please. So that's tough.
I would be so upset.
It is. It's hard. I mean, there's, I haven't even thought about this that much, but there's so many like digital and pencil sketches just all over the place in my studio that, never saw the light of day. I should put them on my Patreon. I just don't have.
I was gonna say, can you sell them, or is it property of Lego?
No, I can sell my pages. Most of the work I did, I think. So after I did like Robot and a couple other small things, sold sketchbooks at shows. It's like a flatter for a lot of companies. And I remember one time I flatted a Frank Miller RoboCop book, and I don't even remember who drew it or why he hired me, but I did some of that. Used to be a website called Digital Webbing. I was on there all the time, and I would pick up gigs from there too. But I think at that point, it's probably when I went to Lego Club Magazine, because I was doing New York Comic Con. I had done it for like 2 or 3 years, but like the first 2 or 3 years. And I sold like robot stuff hand over fist, like robot paintings, robot drawings. I didn't have any robot sequential artwork or anything like that to go along with it. People always ask me about it. So I started a webcomic called, what was it called? Robotic Madness. And about 40 pages into that, one of my friends sent one of her friends to New York Comic Con and said, hey, go check out his stuff. You might want him to work for you. And he turned out to be one of the art directors at Lego in Enfield, Connecticut, for the Lego Club Magazine, Joe. And he came, looked at my robots. He was like, you could probably draw Lego stuff. And I was like, yeah, I probably could.
Yeah, sure.
And he had me do a tryout and stuff. And he's like, oh, cool. All right, let's do it. And, so we started, doing stuff. I did that for a while. I didn't have enough time to deal with, being a stay-at-home dad, work for Lego, and do a webcomic all at the same time.
Something had to go.
So something had to go. And then eventually I got really tired of drawing, like for corporations and stuff. And I was like, oh, I'll go find other jobs to just kind of fill it in. And I did that. And right when I was doing that, I think Scholastic contacted me and asked me I did Lego Save This Christmas, which was one of their little square books, little floppies.
Mm-hmm.
And that was cool. But yeah, then I moved on. Kind of got tired, got angry with the industry, didn't really want to like.
I feel like everybody
I got burnt out.
Yeah, like everybody who we've talked to has like a period where they're just like, yeah, I'm so tired of this crap.
Yeah,
And
it
they
was.
just take a break and then they come back
Yeah, it's
at
like the
some
grumpy
point.
teen. It's like the grumpy teen phase where you're like, and you just kind of jump into your bed and just lay there and you don't draw for a while. I was still drawing. I just wasn't drawing for the same people. But so I took a hiatus from that, got a couple part-time jobs, and just started drawing what I felt like drawing. One of those things being Robotic Madness,
Right.
which is now going to be that 180-page graphic novel I told you about.
Okay.
And now it's called Bags and Bots.
That's gonna kill, man.
Thought that was a little catchier, but so I have to finish doing the revisions on that and print it. Hopefully, I'll have it. I don't know for what show. It probably won't be for Free Comic Book Day, but I'm hoping Terrificon I'll have a pile of them.
That's definitely gonna kill, man. Graphic novels, especially for little kids. I mean,
Well, what really hit me was I was trying to sell Helmights the past couple years while juggling more Lego books that just kind of fell into my lap. I've been lucky because now now people are like, oh, this guy can draw Lego, right? So Random House hit me up for a Valentine's book, the hardcover, which was really cool. It's called I Love You to Pieces. And then I got asked to do the Easter one, and I was super psyched to get another one. So as I was drawing the Easter one, I said to my kids, I'm like, man, could you imagine if they had a Halloween one and they had me do it? I was getting excited again. And sure enough, I got to do the Halloween one. I did not get to do another Christmas one, unfortunately. But
next year.
We'll see.
This year.
We'll see. So in Baltimore this year, I was showing Helmights, which you just showed, to people, and a couple people came up to me and were like, "Oh, you've only got the one issue. If you had it collected, or if you had a couple issues, I'd pick them up, but just one issue, I don't want to pick it up." And that's a typical thing. People, they don't know if you're going to finish your story. It's hard to kind of breach that gap. So I was standing there thinking, well, I drew my entire, robotic thing, and I've got it laying around, and it's a whole story. So maybe I should, probably color that and get it out. So that's how I moved on to that from Lego and everything. So
That's cool.
We'll see.
Jamari, go ahead, man.
So when you took your hiatus, what was what kind of drove you to eventually come back? Or what was your mindset when you kind of come back? Because a lot of times when people take those breaks, whatever their motivation is seems to shift once they make that return.
Having that extra time made me realize, so like most artists, I have a lot of self-doubt. I don't like my own work most of the time, but I know it's good enough to be published and it's quality work, which is a weird sort of quagmire to be in.
I think any creative I think that conundrum exists in every creative. Or
Yeah,
at least,
always want to
the
be better.
Vast majority.
Yeah. And so, having time to deal with that, draw what I wanted to do without doing a page and then have somebody say, no, can you just get rid of like da-da-da-da. I was able to kind of explore, my capabilities, hone what I think my style was after doing years of, doing horror stuff with my brother, which definitely was not my wheelhouse, doing stuff for Lego, which was in my wheelhouse. But like in Lego Club Magazine, you don't get credit, your name's not in there.
Really?
So it was tough when I was doing cons. That's one thing that kind of led me to like being like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I do cons, and people would talk to me, and I'd be like, yeah, I do stuff for Lego Club Magazine. I didn't have a product to show them or anything like that. They didn't see my name in books, so it was weird.
I mean, I get it. I've had burned out. I had a burned out very quick one, and I'm a baby in it. So, well, mine's happened. So mine's happened, and I think I've told this story on here, but mine's happened when my mom passed.
Okay.
Because my mother was an artist,
Yep.
and she was always my biggest cheerleader.
I may have seen an episode where you talked about that.
Yeah, and so I was just like, after it happened, I was like, yeah, I don't really want to draw right now. And
Yeah.
I think it lasted a few months. There's a few months where I was just like,
That's
I
good.
don't want to pick up a pencil. I don't want to pick up anything. And then once I figured out how to channel what I was feeling into a story, then I was able to get back into it, which is
That's a
how
good
I
way to
did
do it.
my graphic novel. And so my
Nice.
graphic novel allowed me to kind of like work through whatever issues I was going through.
Sure.
On top of, my wife was actually pregnant at the time.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
yeah, so it was like, okay,
that's a
so I
lot.
was kind of dealing with, impending fatherhood and, grief, and they kind of mashed together to make my graphic novel, which got me back into it.
That's
Because
good.
I think if I didn't find that, I probably would have stopped.
Yeah, I was at a point where I was like, you know what, I really just want to find a full-time job and just go work all the time so that we, have enough money to do what we need to do, make sure, that I always have, gainful employment, because it's, as a freelancer, it's either feast or famine. 1 year I had 3 books, another year I just did a bunch of random smaller projects. It's like you just never know.
Yeah, they don't prepare you that for in art school.
No, they don't.
It sounds great. It sounds great to be a freelancer,
It
but
does. And if I was getting
Yeah.
consistent work, it would be pretty awesome. Especially the other thing that I wanted to do when I took my break was form a style so that when people ask me to do something, I would just show them my work and be like, does this fit what you're looking for? Because I don't want to be somebody else anymore. Because prior to that, I had to work within branding, guidelines.
mm-hmm.
Lego, I would get a huge Bible. It was awesome. But at the same time, daunting, relearning everything all the time. People used to ask me to do projects and draw like Mike Mignola, and I would do them. And I was like, I don't draw like this. It looks good, decent, but this is not,
Somebody asked you to draw like Mike Mignola?
in the vein of my Robot Mechanic is kind of similar. It definitely does not
Okay.
look like Mike, um, but that dark sort of graphic. Um, the line work doesn't have a lot of varying weight, etc., etc.
So it was less about what you wanted to draw and more about what having people wanted you to fit in their vision instead of
Yeah.
you creating what worked for you best.
Right. Oh yeah, like something like that. That'd be cool. Or that. Oh, that's my buddy Chris. He's got a comic called Playing Dead. I think that's a pinup from it.
So So Jason, were
Yeah.
you do you find anything therapeutic about when therapeutic when you're creating and making when you're doing art?
I think the most therapeutic part when I'm working on a book or something is separate from the paintings, which you guys just saw one of them. Is sketching like the world building, like drawing the worlds, drawing the houses, the people, things like that. I love doing that. That's like my favorite part of the experience. And then I'm like, oh, I can't wait to do this page. And then I get to the page and I'm doing the page and it's great. But then you get to inking and some of that magic starts to go away. And then
You don't like to ink?
It's not that I don't like to ink. I must have ADD or something. Once I get past a certain point in my own work, I get bored with my pages.
I get that.
And I've gotten better about it. Sometimes, like when I worked in Lego and stuff, I would hire like a flatter because I had the extra
God, I hate flatting.
cash to do it. And then once the flatting's done, it's like, okay, I'm just going to shade this and it's going to be fun, that kind of thing. So I don't necessarily mind the inking. Now, when I draw in my own style, I barely pencil before I ink. I mean, it probably looks like a lot to some people, but I do it really quick prior to fleshing everything out.
Are you still pencil and paper?
No. So here's a funny story. When I was doing Lego Save This Christmas for Scholastic, 2012-ish, maybe, I was still drawing on paper. And one of the reasons I was doing that was so I could bring stuff to shows, so I could sell, the sketches afterwards, because obviously that's
right.
Extra income. It keeps me at home and the lights on. But
Always a good thing.
People didn't really buy any of it. So that was one reason that pushed me towards digital. 2, I had a Wacom tablet, the ones that you draw over here with, since college, and I never used it, which means, I graduated in 2000. That's 12. It's 12 years old at that point. My scanner broke and I didn't have any money.
Gotta do it.
So I'm like, hello, Mr. Wackham. It's time for you to step up. And that's when I learned. That's when I learned how to use it.
Oh man!
Now you have people who are making full comics on their phones, which is
Yeah. That's crazy to me. I've been, me and Jamari have been talking. I had set a challenge to do Heat number 3 fully digital.
Yeah.
And I did like 1 page. And I'm like, it just doesn't look right.
That's how I was before.
I'm pushing him. I actually want to see.
He is.
the page.
Jamari, I can show you the page. The page is right here.
I want you to
it just doesn't look right to me. Like,
well, you got to ask yourself why not. You might not have the right supplies.
I might not.
You might not have the right digital supplies in here.
So I'm using Photoshop.
Takes a while.
I'm using Photoshop.
Yeah, that's primarily what I used up until last year.
But it's like the pencil looks like pixelated.
Okay.
And so I don't know if I'm using the right, like.
You could be using the wrong size canvas too.
Well, what size canvas should I be using? Because I do it like 11 by 17, like an actual comic book.
11 by 17. What resolution?
Oh, that might do it. What should it be?
It depends on what your computer can handle.
My computer is pretty decent.
I've always been overkill.
We do 300.
It should be at least 300 at that size. I want to say back in the day for the line art, I interned at DC Comics right after school, during school. My cousin was an editor. I forgot to mention that for Batman.
If you don't mind asking.
Darren Vincenzo.
Oh, I know who that is.
Or
I don't know him.
Or Vincenzo.
I don't know him, but I know
my mom's. I think my mom's side says Vincenzo and his side says Vincenzo. Either's good for me. But yeah, he's a cool guy. Love his family. It's my cousin.
I hope so. Isn't it your family?
Yeah. What was I getting? I forgot what I was getting to. Oh, I want to say the line art back then was like 600.
600?
Something like that when they scanned it in. But,
I'll try it.
25 years later, it's a whole different monster. But I work to size now, and I think my interior pages are 452 size. I probably could do less, but when you start to get super tiny, when you zoom in and you start to draw and you can't see anything, especially when you're old like me, you just can't see it.
All right. I mean, I'll give it a try, man. It's just I can't do. I'm so used.
It'll get easier. Maybe
like,
you should start
I need
sketching on it first instead of doing a book.
Well, I'm trying. So I do my prints digitally.
Yep.
And I've been using those as practice.
Okay.
Like I've done Kang, I've done, Spider-Man, I've done all these others. So I do the prints digitally as practice.
Okay.
But
good idea.
It's a different beast when you're doing like panels.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is I'm a bit of a perfectionist, but paper forces me to do it, damn it. Like if I pick a pose, and I start working on it, like even if I might not like it, I kind of have to keep going because it's already inked in.
True.
Otherwise I'm like whiting it out and everything, and then it.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I know.
But when you're right. But when you're doing it digitally, you get like halfway in and be like, I don't like it, wipe it away, and then you start all over again.
Well, the beauty of digital though is you can draw it like 50 times in like a minute until you get
it's time though.
Well, it actually ends up being less time for me usually.
Really?
Yeah, because I can I can just hide the layer and then work it up again on top of it, or I can get a pose that I kind of like. So you said you had a pose that you liked, but maybe you didn't quite like it. I can just lasso tool the arm, the leg, whatever, and like kind of move things around real quick. And all of a sudden it took less time than it did on paper. there's no erasing or tearing the paper, which was always fun. And then I can move on. And then
keep trying.
if you're unlucky enough to have an editor, or lucky enough, depending on how you look at it, because I love my editors, when you have to do a change, good Lord, sometimes it's some serious changes, and sometimes I can just say, oh, he just wanted that a little bit bigger. Okay, here it is. How's that look? It's boom. Whereas in the past, I'd have to erase the whole thing, or I'd have to draw it on a separate piece of paper and then bring it over, put it on the light table.
But I'm struggling with like textures, like getting textures, because with a pencil,
it's time to YouTube some brush tutorials. I always made my own brushes because the stock ones are stock ones. It's like getting a guitar and not.
I have students that they do amazing things with creating brushes in Procreate.
Oh, I bet.
And when I showed them I had it on an iPad, and their eyes lit up and they just start going a million miles, and I'm like, oh, I clearly see where this can possibly go.
Yeah, talk about time saving. And then another thing I did, like with Helmights, is I was able to do a couple different backgrounds here and there and save a little bit of time, and sort of, like I said before, I always wanted to be an animator. So when I've been working on Helmights or Bags and Bots, the foreground characters and stuff are kind of sellish in comparison to my backgrounds, because I do a lot of atmospheric perspective and stuff. And sometimes I can reuse some of my backgrounds, which if I do them at a high enough resolution, I can do parts of them, move them around as needed. Or even if I make it too big just for the one panel, I can move it around and, fiddle with composition and have a lot of fun really quickly, like really quick.
So I think my struggle for me is I want to get my next book out quickly.
Yep.
And I have to do a lot of learning with this.
Yes, you might want to learn another way.
Right.
If you have a schedule for your book.
Right. So so what I was saying to Jamari is I might do just Heat 3 traditionally. Mm-hmm. And then I have a horror book that I've been scripting out that I want to draw. And so I figure I can get started on Heat and be like halfway through that. And then, like you said, I can watch tutorials while I'm drawing.
Yeah.
And I can be like, oh, okay. And then I'll do that. And that one I can get out quicker because it'll be digital.
And even as you're drawing on paper, you could just think to yourself, maybe I could do X, Y, or Z digitally. You can be like,
I already do that though.
Okay.
So like certain things, like if there's something with like a straight edge, like a sword or something, and I don't feel like sitting down with my
French curve.
Right. Like stuff like that, I would just I'll just leave the pencil markings there.
Sure.
And then when I drop it in, I'll plop it in there, or like a background. Like if I don't feel like drawing this freaking city background, just like what's the word I'm looking for? Not smudge it, blur it. Blur it a little bit, or I'll change some of the gradient or whatever. I'll mess around with it until it looks different.
Yeah.
So I do that. So I'm like halfway there. Maybe not halfway. Like I'm maybe 25% of the way there.
Sure.
I'm just trying to get.
You'll figure out a workflow at some point. It took me a really long time to figure out a workflow. I don't think I really figured out my workflow until recently. Jamari asked me what program I went to after Photoshop.
Yes.
And I'm for my own books, I'm using Clip Studio, which used to be Manga Studio.
Right.
And
I've heard good things about that.
Yeah, unfortunately it just went to subscription base.
Yeah, I just saw that.
I've had it for so long that I get the original version for free forever, which is good.
It is good.
But it's got panel tools. It's got lettering tools. The most recent update, they let you use some of the open type stuff. Whereas like my buddy Nate, he has blambot.com. I don't know if you've seen those fonts. They're awesome. He does this thing. I forgot what it's called, and people hate me for it. But if you put like 4 or 5 letters in a row, like R with a bunch of R's, it'll actually stagger the R's so it looks more hand drawn. Yeah. Up until a month ago, it didn't support that, and now it does, and I'm super happy about it. But like, I can run it on my I have a $200 tablet, Galaxy, one of those Samsungs.
Oh, I have one. Oh, really?
You can run it on there, and it came with a pen. And I do all my little thumbnails on there, and I can like twist them and move them all around or whatever. Or if I'm in bed, it's so light I can do that. And then I just upload it to the cloud, open it up on my bigger workstation, and go to town.
All right. I mean, it's all that sounds great, but like you're like deep into it, and you're not at like the beginning, and I'm at the beginning, and it feels like daunting.
Yeah.
So I get it. I get it.
But if you have one of those tablets, you should just whip it out and just sketch on it, even if it doesn't feel right. Just like, oh, maybe in my next book I'll have this guy in it or this guy.
That's what I'm saying. Like I would do this new book that I'm scripting. I can just because it's simpler, like my comic book stuff is, far space stuff and everything. Whereas the horror book is like,
one spot.
Actually, it's based in. I'm basing it in Connecticut, in Hartford.
Oh.
So it's like,
I've been there.
Yeah. So I'm like, I can use just regular people and kind of stick in the realm of reality, and then I'll try and get better with it then, and then take it from there. But I'll get there. It hit me when I printed it. I'm telling you, I was like, let me print it out and see what it looks like. And I looked at this, and I'm sitting there in Staples like, I'm not happy. And I drove home because I don't have a scanner or anything like that either. I just scan at Staples.
Oh, okay.
It's like 50 cents. And I'm not doing. Usually, I just scan as I draw. So if I draw a page in a week or 2 pages, then I scan the page. And
my scanner's built into my printer now, and I think I used it recently. One of my friends did a pinup for my graphic novel, so I used it, but I haven't used it.
So you just don't even touch pencil and paper anymore.
No, almost never now. I have my little tablet with me all the time. It's 10 inches. It fits in like my little like sling bag thing. So like when I went to Baltimore, I'm on the airplane. I was thumbnailing,
right. You told me that
my next Helmights book,
right? Yeah.
On this little tiny thing, which I've been waiting forever to happen. Like, I remember in the early 2000s, they were making mod books. They would tear apart a MacBook and they'd put a Wacom screen on it somehow, and it cost like $3,000. And I was like, man, I want one of those. And it was like 10 pounds. I did not get one because I didn't have.
I didn't either.
Money. But I wished, and it took 20 years before anybody came out with something even vaguely similar.
So. Crazy. Let's talk about your style. Like, what are your favorite? Who are your favorite artists? Who's influenced you? Who do you love? Hey, this dude did this. I got to pick it up.
So we're talking like visual aesthetics. Yeah.
Well, I mean, favorite artist, favorite comic book artist, favorite whatever artist.
That is a good question. I think it's mostly cartoons. Like. I watched so many cartoons when I was a kid. I was like Bill Murray from Scrooged. I was always in front of the TV. I was always playing video games. So like,
us too.
Yeah, any of that, like, Mario stuff, Looney Tunes, Woody Woodpecker, Warner Brothers, you name it. From when I was younger, I watched it. I loved it. I absorbed it. I watched all of the Disney, the Disney art series, like, 3 artists draw 1 tree, that kind of stuff. All of that, built up. But like, I guess what led me to now is like, I watch things like Bob's Burgers. I don't watch Rick and Morty, although I love the style.
That's surprising.
I can't, like, I've watched the first 2 or 3 seasons, but I can't get into it.
I tried.
There's so much fun stuff in it, but it's just like, you got to stop burping, dude. Please, just stop burping. Stop burping for like 20 minutes. Just for 20 minutes. But I love the art style in that. I had just thought of another one, but I forgot what it was. It was a good one too. But I watched all the Funimation stuff too when I was a kid, like the real Ghostbusters.
I was noticing you've got the panels in the back there of Egon and Ray. Yeah, I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's Peter.
Yeah, Peter.
I was just reading the story about how Winston from the show. How
Yeah.
the
They didn't hire him because he
yeah,
didn't sound
Ernie
like
Hudson.
Winston?
Ernie
I lo-
Hudson. They
I
said he
love
didn't
Winston.
sound like. They didn't say he didn't sound like Winston. He's
Yeah.
like, I am
It's
Winston.
so
What
weird.
are
I
you
am
talking about?
literally Winston.
He's like, I am Winston. And then
You
they
don't-
tried. They were like,
You don't sound
oh,
anything
okay.
like yourself.
Yeah, and they were gonna give it to him, and by that time he had booked some other stuff, so he
Oh, I
was
bet
just
he
like,
did.
"Nah, I'm good."
That's so weird.
That's the,
Those
that was. I was
stories
sitting
are
here
so
going.
weird. I have a couple Winstons too, but they're stuck together.
I was a big fan of that
Animation
show.
cells.
Oh my God. I remember as a kid, I used to get upset. Not upset. I learned. I grew to learn to love them, but like the original Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Oh,
With Casey the Gorilla?
yeah.
Monkey, and like the plunger looking things.
I didn't know about the TV show that it was based off of.
Oh, the original show? Yeah.
There was a
black
TV
and white
show?
It was
No.
live
Wait,
action.
wait.
Yeah.
No.
Live action
Yes,
black and white
Ghostbusters.
show, yes.
Oh my gosh. It was
Yeah.
black and white?
I think parts of it were black and white. I don't know if it was all black. Was it all black and
Oh
white?
my
I don't
god.
think it was.
I had
they
no
may have
idea.
been, they may have had that. It may have been between that big shift over.
Yeah.
I
But
was
they-
today,
there was
I
an
was today
original
years
show.
old when I
Yeah,
found out about
look it up.
this.
It was weird. It
Oh my
definitely
God.
could have been on par with like the Munsters or something. That's the kind of vibe. It
Wait,
gave.
so there was a monkey in there too?
Gorilla, yeah.
There was a gorilla
A
in
guy dressed up in a gorilla outfit. A really bad gorilla outfit.
But I used to get mad because like I would be like, I don't want to watch Ghostbusters. And
I
then,
want to watch the real ones.
right. And I always thought it was funny that they
Yeah.
call themselves the real.
Yeah,
And you
they
see
had
why
to call
that
it the real
happened.
Ghostbusters because it was owned by somebody else already.
Right,
Ghostbusters, the
right,
TV
right.
show.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So we were all watching the same cartoons around the same time.
Yeah.
So okay, cool.
Yeah, and then modern, just like I like Brian O'Malley. The
Yes.
Scott Pilgrim.
Yep.
A lot of indie stuff. Like
They're
I
doing
used-
a
They're
anime.
doing
for
an
that.
anime
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
My buddy Jamar
with the
just posted
original
that.
with the movie cast.
I know. I'm excited. That's
Yeah.
my
I
family's
just
favorite movie.
rewatched. I just rewatched that like a few weeks ago.
We watch it every Thanksgiving Eve.
Why?
That's an interesting choice.
It's Scott Pilgrim.
Want.
Okay.
We do though
not
every
mad at
year
I'm not
I give
mad
that
at
one to you. I got you.
since
I
it
got
came
you.
out. Me and my kids and my wife. Well, most of my
Okay.
kids up until they got older.
I was gonna say your kids are watching that.
Well, my kids are old now. My youngest is going to be 12, and my oldest is just started college. So
How many kids you got?
4.
Four.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah, lots of kids.
that's good.
That's a lot. I mean, I got 3. I mean, I got twin girls and this son. So
You got
I'm over here going, wow.
one more than the amount of hands that you have.
Hmm.
Yeah, grab them. Where you going? Oh no, that was getaway.
You know. Oh, man. So I would have thought you would have said like Jeff Smith. Like
Oh, I like
Bone.
that. Yeah, we got tons of Bone here. I
Yeah.
love that. I love Jeff Smith. Like I said, I'm the worst fanboy ever. I really like.
It's funny because like I'm used to like I don't remember names,
Yeah.
but I remember visuals.
Me too.
So
That's how
I'm
I am, too.
able to I know that style. So that style I stick with the name. Like Jim Lee, I know his
Sure.
style.
Yep.
Todd McFarlane. I remember the names because of the styles.
Yeah.
Now faces, I remember, but if I've never seen the
Yeah,
face
I'm
or
not
if
gonna
I've
do
seen
the
it
names
like
afterwards.
once, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
See,
Faces,
I was
I'm like, hey, I
not.
remember you.
I was not. I don't have the encyclopedic knowledge that Javon has. So even though we
So
probably
much
read a
useless
lot of the same stuff and the same era stuff, I did not learn names of artists. And then when he starts talking about it, and then he makes references like, "Oh, I remember that stuff." Like, is it Lagerfeld? What's his
Lightfield?
name?
Liefeld?
Like,
Rob
yeah.
Liefeld. Yeah.
Like I know that style as soon as you start talking about it, and then when you
Oh,
see,
yeah.
and then it's like then I started equating the name with it, and then it's like, oh, okay, this guy was doing this, and then who was doing all the '90s X-Men that eventually
Jim Lee.
Lee.
Jim Lee.
So
Yep.
yeah,
Oh,
I'm kind of like
Mark
Jason.
Silvestri is there too.
Yeah.
So yeah, like these are people names, you can rattle off issues, runs, and all this stuff. And it's just like I just remember storylines and art styles enough
I keep
that
telling you, it's a useless superpower. I
no
don't
worse than
know how
mine,
I
but my
have it.
ability. No, mine's more just
I have recall when it comes to that stuff.
My brother has that with sports. It's crazy.
I got it a little bit with sports, but like stats,
Yeah,
I'm terrible with.
Oh
I
no, my
used to
brother's
be in
crazy with
high
that
school.
stuff.
I was that bad with football and baseball. I rattled off. I knew your top 20 for ERA, home runs, RBIs, batting average. It was disgusting because I collected cards and everything else in between. And I
Yeah.
watched. I actually watched games nightly when I was a kid. So
I was too busy drawing. I couldn't.
the
I was laying face down on a shag rug with a pencil and a red marker because I needed to draw ninjas and there needed to be blood.
Well, I mean, I was the same way. Like I wasn't big into sports until I turned until Jordan. When
I
Jordan
could see
came,
that he was quite a
when Jordan
explosion.
came around, then I was like, okay, I want to do baseball, and then I didn't. I mean, I want to do baseball and then basketball, and yes, I know, I
He did it all. I want to do it all.
Right. So like
Yeah.
when and then I get football. Okay, so but
And then Bo Jackson did that.
but even then, I was still like comic books. Like it wasn't until like college that I really got into sports.
Okay.
So I was a late bloomer when it came to sports. Like when it comes to like the only person I knew was like Jordan, like athlete. Period. Like all my friends would just be talking about people, and I'd be like, oh yeah. I don't know.
Oh, that makes me think of something. It makes me think of Tony Hawk. Because I did a lot of skateboarding and snowboarding stuff when I was a kid, and that was a
Pro
huge
Stars.
Pro Stars.
All the art in there was.
I love Pro Stars.
I love that ridiculous cartoon.
Stars.
I knew it was ridiculous, but I still loved it.
I watched Pro Stars. I also watched the WWF cartoon. And
yes.
No, I knew wrestling. I was big into wrestling.
Oh, me too. I was huge into
loved
wrestling.
that.
It's like there was
wrestling is just a live action comic book.
The group with Piper and that I love
Sergeant Slaughter and all that.
The bad guys versus the good guys. Yeah.
Jason,
I mean, it's a live action comic book. I mean, it drew it literally. They have superheroes. You just have to love them. I saw you put up something on your page, and it just like the wave of nostalgia that washed over me was so nice and warm. It felt like a nice blanket. It was. Do you remember Mask?
Oh yeah.
What was your favorite?
So that that's one thing with Helmights. It's influenced by like Mask, Masters of the Universe, Dungeons and Dragons, all that kind of stuff. Because I did some D&D with my kids and a couple of my buddies. They were dungeon masters and stuff for us, and it was awesome. Yeah, that had a huge thing. Another person that probably people don't think about that I really liked was growing up was Shel Silverstein. I don't know if you know who he is.
Who that is? Yes.
He did poetry, the light in the attic.
Oh, okay.
Giving Tree, yeah. But his poem, his like short poem books specifically, like Falling Up and Where the Sidewalk Ends, Light in the Attic, that kind of stuff.
I had Where the Sidewalk Ends.
Yeah, and the artwork is just so simple, but it's so awesome.
Wait, is that the dude?
All of his stuff's black and white. It's just black line.
Yes.
All white pages.
I have one of his thick books. I don't remember which one it was, but
yeah, he ended up with a ton of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was a big fan of that.
I think I have all of them.
I was reading Shel Silverstein right next to my Peanuts books.
Nice.
And I grew up. You talking about being on the floor. That was me with Peanuts books, trying to learn how to draw Charlie Brown and Snoopy.
Yeah, I was drawing Garfield at that point. I was like, yeah, Garfield.
I remember doing the same things with the Garfield books. I would go to the library.
I love Garfield and Friends, man.
Calvin and Hobbes. Yeah, that was the stuff.
I remember the Marvel when Marvel had was it the run of books like Garfield and what was the name of it?
Did they do Garfield's?
No, not Garfield. It was a cat.
Heathcliff.
Oh, I love Heathcliff.
Yes,
I used
Heathcliff.
to watch that show. It's got the best theme song.
Heathcliff,
Yes,
Heathcliff,
Heathcliff.
no one should
Yeah.
terrify. That's the power. That's the one I can't get rid of. Little shows, the themes are stuck in here. They don't go away.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But see that for me, and I've told this story before, and I'll tell it again. That
Raggle
was one of my favorite periods of my life, because every Saturday it was sit in front of the TV from about 6.
It started.
In the
I would
morning.
get
It was
up,
really
I'd
early.
get up before 6.
Really early.
You know, Gumby was always first.
No. Well, for me, it was Bob Ross.
That's right.
Bob Ross. I woke up every Saturday to watch Bob. Bob Ross is one of my biggest influences,
Yeah.
and I have never said that, and I really need to say it more. But I watched him so much doing art in the morning.
He was a positive dude. Yeah.
Absolutely, and it was like from that, and then it would go into, like you said, like Gumby, and then it was like Gumby, and then it was something else, and then it would hit like all the stuff on NBC.
I remember I'd run out and then I would have to switch channels. I forgot what the channel was, so I could watch like Calliope or something like that. It was like, all right, I'm out of stuff to watch. I got to watch this now. You know.
Well,
like
for me,
David the Gnome, where are you?
Yes.
Wow, that was
David the Gnome. Oh my gosh! But
Which,
for me,
by
it
the
was
way,
no. I used to go up until it was like I love Saved by the Bell.
Oh yeah.
So Saved by the Bell, and then it was California Dreams, and then it was City Guys, and then it was NBA
Hang
stuff.
Time. Oh, NBA
Hang Time.
Inside
Is it
Stuff.
stuff or Hang Time?
Inside Stuff.
Inside Stuff.
I know.
Yes.
I remember that name. What is Inside Stuff? Was it a show? Or was
Yeah, it was a show.
It
It came on right
It was like
after.
little ESPN for kids.
Yes.
But
Really?
It was
strictly
right
basketball.
after the cartoons. I remember it was Saved by the Bell, California Dreams, City Guys, and then it was Inside Stuff. And then literally, as soon as Inside Stuff went off, I went outside.
I really remember the name Inside Stuff. Or my brother probably watched
Ahmad
it.
Rashad.
Ahmad Rashad was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
But that was my routine for years until honestly the advent of Cartoon Network. Maybe not even Cartoon Network, because I became 7A Adventist. Once I became 7A Adventist, I kind of had to stop because I had to go to church on Saturday. But then I started watching shows on Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday wasn't as good. There wasn't as much.
No, that's when it was like Wish Kid.
We were like
Was
an
it Wish Kid?
afterthought. Oh, I remember Wish Kid.
Not Mighty Max.
I remember that.
Widget
the World Watcher.
I think
Widget
Pirates
the
of
World
Dark
Watcher,
Water
I
was on
remember that
Sunday.
one.
Yeah,
Pirates of Dark Water was on Sunday.
that was a good one.
Pirates
I
of
like
Dark
that
Water
one.
was Saturday for me.
That was fun.
They moved it to. Remember, there was a certain point when I think it was NBC and Fox both stopped playing like cartoons on Saturday.
I remember that.
Like they just gave up. And then it was Sunday for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I think Cartoon Network came and kind of
wiped everybody out.
Yeah, it
just
just
was cartoons all the time.
All the time. You can't compete.
For me and my brother, it was Nickelodeon with stuff like
Ren and Stimpy
our
was
Sundays
a huge
were
thing for me.
For Sundays for us, it was like Salute Your Shorts, Rocco's Modern Life, Wild and Crazy Kids, and stuff like that. Sunday for us was Nickelodeon.
Oh, what was the?
But that was like Saturday nights, wasn't it?
What was the one on the ranch? Dude.
Oh, Hey Dude.
Hey Dude.
I remember Hey Dude. But all that stuff was like that was like.
There was a Saturday night, but that's a different thing. That you're talking about. Are You Afraid of the Dark?
All
Clarissa
that
Explains It All. Roundhouse. And all that.
Because I remember I just kind of reached that age where it was like, oh, look at that, girls. But
you started watching TGIF.
I never stopped watching TGIF. Well, that's not really true either, because I reached a point, once again, I became 7A Adventist, so
I think it's still on, isn't it?
No.
They don't still have a TGIF?
Not,
I don't think it stopped that long ago. It was like on the CW or something.
I know of Sonic X, but I've never watched it. I think that was
when did
that was
TGIF stop? I stopped caring when Family Matters and
Family Matters
and Perfect Strangers. And,
Perfect Strangers was good too.
What's the other show? Oh, what's the name of the show?
Larry. Dinosaurs. That's a
Step by Step.
Right?
Step by Step.
Dinosaurs. Yes. And then the most depressing series finale of all time.
That was such a weird show. I still watch it every once in a while. It's so weird. I'm like, I can't believe they got this on TV.
That's
going back to something you brought up.
There was a lot of that.
You know, David the Gnome had a depressing ending.
It did.
By the way,
I've never saw.
I remember being that show always brought a lot of emotion.
Basically, him and his wife decided that it's time for them to go. They'd reached the age, and they turned into trees.
What?
Yep.
Spoiler alert.
Why are you killing my childhood? What the heck?
Look,
we didn't do it. The writers did it.
It's just
what I used to love, cartoon-wise, was Nickelodeon during the day. Whenever I'd get sick, this is before my mom and I had cable. So whenever I get sick, I would go to my grandmother's house.
I was gonna say I had to go to my grandfather's.
And my grandmother had cable, and so I was watching Gummy Bears. And Fraggle Rock.
The Disney afternoon was a huge thing for me.
What's the other? Banana Man.
Oh, Banana Man. Danger Mouse.
Danger Mouse.
That was a huge impact on me.
Danger Mouse. Absolutely.
Danger Mouse messed me up as a kid. That gave me my off-key sense of humor. It's a very weird.
I got the whole box set. I just remember trying to talk to people about it. They're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I have the real Ghostbusters box set too.
They don't know Danger Mouse?
My brother-in-law gave it to me for being his best man. He's like, what do you want for being my best man? I'm like, how about a big tin of the real Ghostbusters DVD?
Isn't it on Amazon now or something?
It's on a lot of stuff. But
okay.
It never goes anywhere. I got it on DVD.
I might have to go check that out.
So let me ask you this, Jason. Because we've hit this streaming era, but now I think there's going to be a slight revolt, because now that we've had issues with whoever purchased HBO, they're now messing with and getting rid of. They're losing shows that HBO owns. They're taking it off. Do you think that's going to? Because I'm hearing people grumbling about it, and I'm wondering if that's going to bring a kind of revival, or at least more people are going to start pushing for more physical things now.
I'm not sure. That's been bothering me a bit. And I remember, so I had an extensive DVD collection. When I was younger, I worked multiple times. I worked at Blockbuster, whether it was in college or I started doing nights when my daughter was young. So then my wife could work in the day. I could work at night, and I'd draw during the day a little bit when I was with my daughter if she sat still. But I had a huge DVD collection, and I was like, oh, Netflix has this one, Netflix has this one, Netflix has this one. I'm going to just get rid of them all. I sold a ton of them. I still have a lot of DVDs. And now I'm thinking, I should have held on to them, or I should have ripped them all onto a drive at least, so that I, had them laying around, because I bought them all. And talk about a lot of money back then was, buying DVDs. They were expensive.
I definitely did. I did DVDs. I still have my DVDs and definitely have all of my CDs. Somehow I have kept hold of my CD collection.
I still have all my CDs in a big thing.
All my CDs got stolen. So.
Ooh.
Jamari took them.
It's a wonder that didn't happen to me.
There's a story about it. I'm not going to tell it out.
Don't tell it here. You can tell me later.
It's going to out somebody, but somebody's responsible for my CDs being stolen.
It was me.
But I do have I'm with you. I have a ton of DVDs. I have like the first 6 seasons of Supernatural. Nice. I was buying every Marvel movie.
I was too.
Up until
I think I got into the Spider-Man
quarantine.
Maybe?
I think I have Endgame, and then I have Far From Home, and that was where it ended.
I'm trying to think of what the most recent DVD would have been. Probably when I left Blockbuster, in 2000.
Wow, Blockbuster
4 or something. Yeah, I actually have all their cabinets in my basement because we went out of business.
Wow.
and they were going to throw it all away. And I was like, what about these cabinets? They were like, well, you want them? I'm like, yeah. I got my minivan, just put all the cabinets in. I've got an employees only Blockbuster sign on my my basement stairs when you walk in.
What's in the cabinet?
Fun.
Yeah, it's pretty
What's
funny.
in the cabinets?
The cabinets, all kinds of crazy stuff. I just, I paint, I collect things. I occasionally build a guitar, just random stuff.
Saw that. I saw that.
I used to shaped surfboards for a while to make extra money while I was drawing. So
again, I don't believe you sleep.
So people, this is the life of a freelancer. You got to be a jack of all trades.
Yeah. Gig worker.
But I honestly, there's a part of me that would love to be like, I have a 9-to-5 job, and there's part of me that would love to just do freelance.
Yeah.
But I think if I wasn't married with kids,
100%,
I would do it.
Yeah, I'm
if
lucky
it was
enough.
Just me,
yeah,
I would do it. Easy.
Luckily, my wife's a teacher, so she gets our insurance and everything through there. So I'm lucky.
That's part of the reason why I wouldn't want that one.
Yeah.
Only but I do know that there's I can already feel the shift because there's things I'm trying to do, things that Javon is encouraging me to do. That
encouraging is a very polite way of talking about what I'm trying to do. Trying not to curse him. Tough love.
So this is a thing. But listening to you, I'm just like, this man can't sleep if he's doing these things, and you have so many different things that you have your hands in, and it's inspiring in a way. It's very much inspiring on at least on my side of it.
Well, I'm good. I'm happy to hear that. I think that's part of the stress I was talking about earlier to you before the show.
Well, it's funny. I was talking. I don't know who I was talking to. I can't remember who I was talking to, but it was another artist. And we were talking about it, and I was like, I wish sometimes, no, I don't wish, but sometimes it would be nice if I didn't have the urge to create.
Absolutely.
Like, if I could just work a 9-to-5 job that has growth on a yearly basis, and you just go to work and you come home.
It's very hard to find now, but yeah,
which is very hard to find. But like, if I could do that, which I could do, but like I would hate myself after a while. And I've done it, and I have hated myself. Luckily, I like my job now because I get to work in sports.
Doing it unburdened with the desire to do more.
Yeah. But if I wish I didn't want to make comic books. Like if I could just be a fan again sometimes, I would love it.
Yeah.
But it's
I had to reinvent myself as a fan the past few years.
You had to what?
Reinvent myself as a fan, as spoiled as we are now, like
explain this. That's an interesting.
I'm trying to. What do you mean reinvent yourself?
So when we were kids, I mean, we had a lot of cartoons and stuff, but
yes,
we did not have the sheer volume of pop culture, shows, movies, just
we're spoiled.
I remember the years of dreaming of them making another. I wish they would make another Star Wars movie. That went on for like a decade. I wish they'd make another Star Wars movie. And now it's like, here, have one every 5 seconds.
You want more Star Wars? Oh, you're gonna get more Star Wars.
You're gonna, whether you want it or not. So now I kind of watch everything with a grain of salt. Not only that, but I also watch it, from the perspective of somebody who works in that industry and understands why certain things may be a certain way, and just letting it go and not worrying about it. Because hey, how lucky am I that they even made an Iron Man movie? Because I remember that when that was coming out, I was like, they're making an Iron Man movie? That's crazy. Like, I'm like, nobody's gonna want to watch it, but I can't wait to see it. And then it took off, and people who didn't like comics that used to make fun of me started watching the movies and
started watching it.
I'm sure it's a similar story that happened to a lot of people, but I mean, that's
the emergence of anime in the last decade has been.
I am a big anime fan. I worked at Walden Books back in like 2000, and it was in a mall.
That's a name I haven't heard in forever.
It was in a mall. Well, how about this? And there was a Suncoast Video downstairs, and they had tons of anime. So like, I was friends with the people that worked there. and they bought so much anime, and they would give me just like these box sets of anime, and there was no dubbing, so most of them I had to like read them, and I'm trying to read them, and I'm looking at the art, and it's cool, and then I'm trying to draw at the same time, and then I'm trying to read.
A lot of rewinding.
Now I can just stream. You know, I've been watching One Piece. I think I'm up to episode like 300. You know,
you're lagging if you're at 300.
I know. Well, I was watching other stuff. I've watched a lot of other things. Gurren Lagann, and just the list goes on.
But you know, it's
Sword Art
true,
Online.
though. The refiguring out fandom, because I do think the fandom that exists now is is different than the fandom that existed, let's say 30 years ago. Not even 30. Let's say 25 years ago.
If I was doing what I was doing now 20 years ago, I'd be selling a lot more books. And that's another question I have to ask myself in terms of fandom is, are people reading books anymore? Do I need to go fully digital? Do I need to have my own app? Should I be on Comixology? Should somebody be distributing for me?
The audiences would be smaller 25 years ago, though. I think the audience would be smaller.
For hardcover, for hard copy issues?
Well, in regards to, I think
there were a lot more small creators at shows back then. I feel like there's less now.
Really?
Yeah.
So I wasn't frequenting Comic-Cons back then, which is crazy. Everybody knows me in comic books, but I really didn't go to a ton of Comic-Cons. I mean, I'm in Connecticut. We didn't really have a ton of Comic-Cons.
That's true.
We had we had really smaller events. Like I remember I drove to like Wizard World in New Jersey or Philly or Boston or whatever.
Yep, there was Boston, Philly, and Chicago.
Right. I think I didn't drive to Philly. I drove to Boston to go to the Comic-Con, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, oh my gosh. But I still don't feel like there's less of a stigma when it comes to comic books now than it was back then.
There is, but I mean, you don't see people reading them on the street, even with all of the stuff going on with the MCU and everything. You'd think that people would pick something up.
I think that the reading portion. We were having this discussion a few episodes ago with another guest. Was I think those who are doing the reading are actually reading more manga than comics, or at least Western comics.
I just had this argument.
And because this era is, or this generation is branded that MCU and comic stuff is more movie related or visual.
I can agree on that.
And I think that's why that's the case, because you now have a generation that they've completely grown up that Spider-Man is Tom Holland, not Peter Parker in a comic book.
Yeah. I think I commented, actually, I think it was one of your posts.
It's probably.
I was doing a talk at one of the schools recently, and I was talking to him about sequential artwork and drawing and how to lay out the panels, and then the reading order. And all, the kids were like, some of the kids were just like, holy cow, I didn't know that's how you read a comic. And I think some of them went and picked stuff up. But then I saw, a couple other kids like snickering, and I could hear the word manga in the background. And they thought I was gonna, just not cover that at all. And then I was like, and then in other countries, and I popped it up, and it was all backwards. And they were all like, oh! There was a lot more manga kids in that auditorium than there were comic book kids. Because at the beginning, I was like, who reads graphic novels or comics? And a couple kids were like, eh. At the end, I was like, who reads manga? And
It's funny. We just had this conversation on Top 5 Tuesday. And one of the big things that people who are pro manga and anti-Western comics say is, it's so hard to get into, Western comics. And I'm always like, honestly, it has never been easier. I told people that instead of trying to look at it like I need to read the first issue of Spider-Man to the current issue of Spider-Man, which from what I understand, One Piece is like 1,000,
it's probably up to 12,000.
If you can read 1,000 copies of freaking One Piece, and you can read 1,000 books of Spider-Man, but I digress. I think instead of doing that, people should suggest runs.
Yeah,
Like,
traits.
like, okay, and I said this on the show. Like, if I like the Incredible Hulk,
Yeah.
If you like the Incredible Hulk, if Jason, you came to me, I said I really want to get into reading the Incredible Hulk, but I don't know where to start. I would give you a trade of Peter David's Incredible Hulk from the beginning and be like, start here, read the entire thing. But if you said I like the Incredible Hulk and I know you like horror movies, I'd be like, look, here's Al Ewing's The Immortal Hulk, or you know what I mean? Like I would
Well,
give people
I think it
runs.
helps if you have a buddy to give you runs. That's one thing. Because I remember, I
Yeah,
don't
but
know
even if you
how long ago it was. I remember, like, I'm thinking of Civil War, but the movie didn't exist, and I don't even know if Iron Man existed at that point. But I remember talking to one of my buddies. I think I got like a free year subscription to Marvel Unlimited, and at that point, there wasn't like, hey, reading list, let's check it out. I want to read about Kang. Let me get all the Kang books, which is what I did recently. Before Quantum Mania. That's pretty cool. If anybody out there wants to get started on comics, that's an easy way. But
That might be that might be a good way of getting.
Yeah, because I was counting on my buddies. I was like, hey, what should I read? He's like, you should read number this of this series, number that of that series. Make sure you read the number of this one of this series because there's a crossover. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, can we just, I think this is where the manga comes in. Oh, it's in order. Let me just read through the whole thing.
That's what I'm saying. Your guys did it wrong. Your guys gave you the complicated way. I'm saying if you tell people to do it by a run,
yeah,
like what a creator's run,
but that's
then
easy.
It's less.
It's
this issue, this and this and this, but more like
It's hard to get your hands on it unless you go digital.
No. If you go to a comic book shop, if you go to a comic book, number one,
you just said it right there.
It gets really expensive, and you have to leave your house to go to a comic book store.
Well, don't you have to do that for manga? I'm asking. I don't know.
In fact, no. I'll be honest with you.
No, I'd go on Amazon. I'd have it tomorrow, and I'd read the whole book.
You can do that.
Or
you can do that. You can do no.
So I'm going to tell you another reason
why.
You can do that. Let me tell you another reason why manga did have the run that it's had. I'm going to say up until about. I'm going to say up to about 2012, 2015. You used to be, well, if you read manga, people who were in the know, they knew there were too many websites where you could read a manga throughout without online for free.
Yeah.
And in fact, Crunchyroll initially was one of the sites that did that sort of thing or had runs of anime that were free, and then it converted and it's turned into a subscription site, and they license stuff now. They're licensed. So there were sites that did those sites forever. I read before I ever bought one issue of Naruto. I was reading it online. That's how I kept up. That's how so many people kept up with things like One Piece and everything else. That's where the growth came. Those sites are still around.
They also didn't release them over here either, so that was really your only option at that point.
Exactly, and so that stuff happened for the longest time, and the idea of buying manga outright, that was a privilege, and then once the licensing became easier, anime became more widespread, and manga got cheaper a little bit. It was pretty much that's how people got into it initially, and now the shift has come to webtoons. The webtoons website is where a lot of people got started. One Punch Man got started on there. Mob Psycho got started on webtoons, and so that line of a lot of people get started there and reading it. My students are there doing the same thing.
I just think, and I know I'm cynical. And that's fine. I've been reading comics for a long time. I do feel like manga is a bit of a fad. Like it's the cool thing right now. Like it's
definitely
it's the cool thing right now.
I don't know. A moment.
I don't know if it'll.
Well, I mean,
I'm not saying
so is the MCU at this point.
Huh?
So is the MCU at this point.
Right. And even MCU, people have been complaining about fatigue on it. Like people have been openly complaining about, I'm so fatigued. I don't feel that way because
to some level.
I don't feel that way because I remember growing up with, Tank Girl.
You're grateful
with the live action Spider-Man from the 70s.
Oh, you mean with the web swing with one web shooter and then the belt and then the silly string? Yes,
Yeah,
that's
up
how.
the building.
Yeah, so like I remember being thirsty for this.
I know, me too.
And so I'm quenched. I'm happy.
Well,
but there are a lot of people who grew up with, like you said, who grew up with this.
But there's a lot of people that have been thirsting for manga for a long time because the body politic decided that it wasn't cool to read it. I remember, again, Suncoast Video. People used to let me borrow mangas back then, and they were really hard to get. They used to order them from like Japan and stuff. It was crazy. They were really into it.
But I mean, we'll see if they have the staying power on it. I'm not saying that people will one day be like, oh, manga. But I do think there will come a point where something else will take over.
The hot new thing
will become the hot. Who knows what it is. Sometimes history repeats itself, and sometimes it circles its way back around. Or it could be something else. I mean, for a long time, zombie comic books were like the thing, and it was literally
God. Yeah, we had a lot of jokes about that when I was younger. Right. Me and my brother tried to ride that train, and I always tell my buddy Chris that's on my show with me, I have a bunch of videos. Robert Kirkman used to set up like right next to me at shows, so I have some crazy videos of him. But I think he had, oh my God, what was it, Battle Pope?
Oh yeah, Battle Pope.
Before he did Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember all the zombie stuff going on. He hadn't started doing Walking Dead yet. And me and my brother, the horror guy, we were like, oh, let's do zombie stuff. And we never got around to it. And then, boom, Walking Dead. And I was like, oh my God, we should have done zombie stuff. But I would have wanted to do cartoon Shel Silverstein zombies. So,
hey,
Tim Burton was already taking care of that.
Yeah, there you go.
Let me ask you both a question, since you both have.
Well, we got it. It's 9:27, so I want to get to the top 5. I know you want to, but I don't want to hold him forever because he's clearly working right now.
Understandable.
Who, me? No, I'm going to bed.
Well, either that too. He's got 4 kids. I understand. Every show we do, we ended up. So we're gonna do it a little differently. Normally, all 3 of us give our top 5, but personally,
I'm not gonna top anything.
I'm literally I'm running out of top 5s, and I do it now, and I do it on Tuesdays. So I'm not gonna do it on my show anymore because I'm literally doing it on Tuesdays too. And then and Mr. Senior Rodney Barnes. Yeah, he scorched earth me there, so I gotta retreat and then recuperate, and I'll be back. And I'm gonna come back when I get him on the show again. We're gonna do this again, but he was never coming on the show again. I'm gonna do what are your top 5 favorite cartoons of all time?
Oh man, I don't really. You can ask my kids. I don't do favorites. Every time they ask me favorites, but I will humor you. My top 5 cartoons, like TV show cartoons.
Yes,
not movies. Right?
Not movies.
Pretend we've never watched a cartoon, and you would put 5s in our hands to show us what would be good.
Okay. I do that all the time, and people hate me for it. But I mean, Danger Mouse would have to be in the top 5. Mask would probably be up there. The 90s Ninja Turtles would be up there. You can't see them, but I've got a whole bunch of Ninja Turtles on my wall. All right, 2 more. What else did I love? The Disney ones is too hard to pick. Gummy Bears is pretty sick, though, but so is DuckTales.
Rescue Rangers, no?
Rescue Rangers is killer, too. The movie wasn't terrible.
I have to watch it. I still haven't watched it.
I still haven't watched that movie.
Probably He-Man.
Okay.
And I did love G.I. Joe as a kid. Not so much anymore.
Okay, that's 5.
Is that 5?
That's 5.
All right. There we go.
That's
Do
pretty
that.
good 5. That's a good.
We'll
5.
go with that. Even though I
I
watch
enjoy
Bob's
it.
Burgers like crazy now, because it reminds
You
me
know,
of
I've
me and
never
my children.
watched one episode.
If you watch it,
I-
it's if Bob was a freelance illustrator, it's kind of like my life.
Okay. Now I gotta watch it because I have to see.
The children are. Have you seen them as somebody drew them as manga characters or something like that recently? Like My Hero Academia characters?
I've seen him redrawn lots of different ways. Oh, I've watched that show too. Yeah, no, that show is just, I don't know. There's something really funny about it.
So as we wrap up, do you want to tell anybody where you're gonna be, what you got coming out?
All right, let's see. I'm terrible at this. Let me see if I can do it good. So jasonmay.com will get you everything. That's my name.com. It's really easy. I just built a new website.
It's nice.
I'm still working on it. Thank you. Wednesday nights, most Wednesday nights, I do a show on YouTube called Jason May Draw. I sit down and I draw with people. I started it during COVID because I realized, like, I was talking to my kids about art, and art in school, and if they knew what, like, what values were, what the difference between shape and form were, and all this stuff. And they were like, "No, I don't know." I'm like, "All right, I'm going to go on YouTube and be a YouTuber and show kids during COVID." And during COVID, I was getting like 100+ viewers every Wednesday night with my buddy Chris. And it was pretty cool. But I do that every Wednesday night. I'll be at All Yeah Comics in New York, their New York branch, on Free Comic Book Day. I'll be at Terrificon this summer. I'll be at Baltimore, where I will see you again.
You see me at Terrificon.
And Terrificon, that's right. And then I had one other one, Plastic City Comic Con, which is always a good time. A lot of my close friends are there.
I can see me there too.
Some Rhode Islanders are there. Like,
Okay.
Frankie B. Sometimes Craig Russo's there. And it's a good time. I think that gets you everything. My website will get you to the Instagrams, the TikToks, whatever it is you're into.
No projects coming out to let people know about.
I'm currently flatting Helmights too.
Okay.
I have a black and white special edition at the moment with a sketch cover. That's the only copies that I have, but I'm going to have a color version this year at the cons. Hopefully number 3 by the end of the year. And if you keep your eyes out, there'll be a almost 200-page graphic novel, hopefully by Terrificon, printed and ready for purchase.
Okay. All right. I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you.
But thank you, Jason, for coming on. This was fun, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we gotta have dinner or something. I mean, I'm gonna see you like 5 times this year.
I know. It's going to be a lot.
Have a drink at BarCon or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But thank you once again. Again, people, jasonmay.com. Go buy his stuff. Just he needs to sell out. Crash his website. Good stuff. Also, check out his Instagram. It says right there, Jason.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes, sir.
That's the one.
Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. Again, this Saturday, I'll be at Retro Expo in Rhode Island. Come on by. It's only one day, so it's Saturday. Come by. I got a bunch of other things coming out. April, I'm going to be at a bunch of different places. So I'll let you guys know next. Jamari, tell people about what you're doing. I'm going to talk. While you're talking, I will pull up the image.
Well, since I am a teacher and I run a anime club, a year ago I said, well, since my kids normally, I took them one year to a convention, and then COVID happened, and I couldn't take them to a convention. And when people were still a little afraid about should we let them go to a convention, I said, well, why don't I bring that energy to the school? I have a big building and I have space. So last year we ran our first anime day. We're doing it again, April 22nd. And so I've got it planned. We're turning a couple of different spots into a lovely little day. So if you got cosplay, if you are it's going to be family friendly. You like video games, we're going to have games there. We're going to have a Smash tournament. We're going to have Shonen Jump. We're going to have pretty much some sort of basic systems. We're going to have tabletop Magic the Gathering. I'm working on getting some comic artists and some vendors there as well. We had some last year. I want more. If you are an artist and you would like to come in and have some kids fawn over your art and sell the art to them, please come on through. You can get a hold of me. If you hit that IG account down there, you can get a hold of me and I can get that information. I can get you whatever other information about us. We're doing it for the whole day. Come out and enjoy yourself.
I am trying to be there. I'm doing my best.
If it would be amazing if he is.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
There's some other people that I have to reach out to.
Gotta get a flight. That's all I gotta get. So listen, if you want to get me there, if anyone wants to get me there and help the cause, hit me up.
Get him there. Yeah, get him to Atlanta for
anything help. Anything help. Or, which would be even better, go to visuallystoked.com, pick up Heat, pick up Strong, pick up all my good stuff.
If he does show up, he will be able to sell that to you physically.
Yes. So listen, feel free.
Help me out.
Help me out. I got kids, folks. I got kids. I need to sell a lot of stuff, so I can keep doing this comic thing and not stress myself out. All right. One of my biggest fears is losing my hair, and I hear stress. I hear stress has to do with that.
Oh, this is gonna eventually it's gonna go.
Yeah, but you've got like cool gray hair now. Like, it's
cool.
Yeah,
I got the cow hair now.
Are you gonna go dye it fully gray? I think it would fit. I think your face fits it if it's fully gray.
I'd rather have it be weird.
I mean, I wouldn't say it was weird, but like if you were cool, you'd look. Oh man, what's that comic book character? Damn it,
the one from The Watchmen.
Is it Watchmen? No.
Dr. Manhattan.
No, not Dr. Manhattan. No, there's like it's like Savage Steel or some like government agent who has like the pepper gray hair.
Oh, I don't know.
That's what I was thinking.
I know Mr. Fantastic does.
Oh, you got to die.
He does.
You're gonna leave just the.
It's got the Bruce Campbell things. Yeah.
Oh, I would definitely do that. If I was just going gray, I would just dye like the top.
Doesn't work though. I got like a white spot here.
Well, then that's when you just dye like the sides.
Just bleach it right here.
Yeah, right there. Just bleach it around. But you got to go all the way around.
All the way around.
You got to go the whole thing. I keep telling people, if this patch goes right here, if it starts to go right here, I'm just shaving my whole head.
Mm-hmm.
Just rub it all out into just like big parade.
Nope. I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen people who it's all gone up here, but it's like around and then
one big dread. I've seen that too. Just a big dreadlock. Seriously. I've gone to a lot of music shows. There's all kinds of hair.
And on that note, thank you all for stopping by for a Stoked podcast, Creative Talk with Creative People. Once again, thank you, Jason May. We appreciate you, and we'll gladly have you on again to shoot the crap.
All right.
Next week, we got the Thriller in Manila. Kevin Chapman is here to challenge me being the most opinionated man in comics. I don't know how he intends on doing that, but he will be unsuccessful.
I will be able to say a whole word through this whole episode.
I'm just going to be honest with you. We'll probably not talk about any projects he has coming up. It's probably just going to be one long stream of consciousness from Kevin. If you've ever heard Kevin talk, he probably won't breathe. It'll just be talking.
I won't be able to say, I'm not getting a word in.
But please stop by next Thursday, 8 p.m. And we'll talk again, once again, Retro Expo. Come see me. Y'all have a great weekend.